Welcome to the Never Gets Old podcast with your hosts, Mac Jackson and Nick Narrow, celebrating all we love in TV, movies, comics, and music. Share your questions, comments, and artwork on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and dieheroic.com. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Never Gets Old podcast. I'm Mac Jackson, and joining me today is a Facebook friend of mine who I've been trying to get on for a little while, Chris, who has a site on Facebook, which I enjoy a great deal, called Marvel vs. DC. And so I guess I can start off by saying you're into comics.
Yeah.
How long have you been in comics for?
I guess I would say since like 5. I mean, I think about it.
Do you remember when you remember what your first comic was?
Yeah, I do actually. We have a panel. We call them the board. And it's just the other admins, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through everything. We had this conversation not too long ago. My first comic was Spider-Man when he got his black suit.
Oh! Secret Wars or his own title afterwards?
His own title afterwards.
Okay.
To this day, have never read Secret Wars.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
It's fun. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the deepest story in the world, but it's, there's certain heroes I wish were part of it when I look back on it.
Yeah.
And some of them you go, really? At the time you had to throw, that character in or that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so funny how they change in popularity with characters that were like so relevant back then. And then you look at them today, they're like, get punched in the face by like...
Squirrel Girl.
and they're done forever,
Well, it's funny too that you mention that, because they're doing... Oh, one of the crossovers that they're doing now with the Secret War, if that's what they're calling it again.
Yeah, Marvel has the Secret Wars going on.
It's not even our Captain America yet. They're still hooked on the Falcon being Captain America.
Yeah, I think Captain America current. Now I haven't kept up with the story. I just started getting the Secret Wars, the current one.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America, I believe, doesn't have his serum no more, so he's like an old man.
Right.
And the only image that like sticks in my head is him on Deadpool's back on the cover.
Yeah. I mentioned because I think in a few years though we're gonna look back on it and it's gonna look dated. You know what I mean? 'Cause right now, okay, that's where they're at in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 years from now, I'll give you a good example. Remember when they did, well, they did it a couple times, but the, say, Marvel versus DC comic book, where people got to vote, and some of them were dead on, and some of them were stupid.
It's so funny how people bring that up as, oh, this counts. This is canon. This counts.
Yeah.
And you're like, it really doesn't,
Wolverine versus Lobo, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean... Superman almost got beat by Venom. I mean, come on.
Exactly. And, well, one of the things that they did with that book, if you remember how Thor looked at the time?
Yeah.
He looked like glam hairband Thor. And I forgot, and I think most of the world forgot about that outfit, thankfully. But every time you go back and you want to see a panel of, oh wow, who was Thor fighting at the time? Who the heck is that? That doesn't look like Thor.
The thing I noticed is, to me, I have 3 stories, and to me these are always like the great. And I hate lists, which is ironic, and they're like the stories I weigh everything against.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think a lot of the writers now they want that Stalin story, They want that Infinity Gauntlet story, They want that story that's gonna like just leave tremors in comics forever.
Sure.
But a lot of them fall short, unfortunately.
What are the three that you're thinking?
I'm not a big Batman fan, believe it or not. And
Really? I'm sorry, this podcast is over. That's it. But no, go ahead.
The Dark Knight.
Okay.
That's Infinity Gauntlet's my number one. Dark Knight's number two. I really liked Flashpoint.
Me too. I
would have it in my top 10. I would have it in my top 10. I wouldn't say that's like my number three always varies between, Marvel, DC. And even though Batman's not my favorite, I loved, and it's just a childhood thing from growing up. Sure. I loved the story with him and the Punisher.
Oh, together. Okay, yeah.
I think Marvel and DC both have major flaws, but I think that Batman is something they always just hit right on the head perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I agree.
The story with Batman and Bane.
Yep, I love
Everyone knows it.
Bane's probably one of, if not my top Batman villain, I'd say.
Oh, I want to get into that because I was talking to someone this morning on the board. Well, they renamed it the Illuminati. I got outvoted. I like the board, but whatever. And we were talking about. Well, we'll get into that in a few.
Okay.
But one of the best, most underrated Batman stories, and there's a lot of really good ones, I would say, is him and the Predator.
I love that. I love all the sequels they did too.
Yes. Because
they did 2 or 3 sequels with him, and then they did one where it was with the whole Justice League.
Yeah.
And that I thought, whoa, okay, good. That's what I want to see. That was the time when they were having a lot of fun with those.
Yeah, and you could tell when someone writes a book. First off, I can't read a book if the artistry is horrible. I mean, it's just like I'm like forcing myself to read it. You know what I mean? And I can't do it. But with decent artistry, you can always tell when a story is written as a filler, when a story is written as just to get something out there, and you could tell when the writer and the artist really love the character. Mm-hmm. That's when you get those great stories that people remember forever.
I agree.
And like right now, DC has Convergence. They're bringing all their worlds together now. Mm-hmm. Marvel is pretty much doing the same thing. And that's why you have a lot of stories, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Mm. Because they pretty much told the writers, all right, we're going to start all over, so you can do what you want with the character the rest of the book.
Right.
So now you got guys playing out their fantasies. What if Captain America has no powers? He's old and fights with a cane. Oh, that's going to be great.
For an issue, maybe. After that,
You're hoping at the end of it he wakes up, but it never happens.
Well, it's like, who is it? Grant Morrison, I always say. Grant Morrison always starts off strong, but it always seems like everybody's afraid to tell him no. So then he starts off making sense, and then by the end of his run, you're going, what? I don't... You're not even explaining why that happened. And nobody monitoring what he does.
I've noticed with DC Comics, a lot of their stories, they have so many subplots that they start to actually take over the main plot. Mm. And you I'm not going to say get lost, but it's when that big moment happens at the end, kind of anticlimactic.
Well, you know what? I don't. Have you been reading Cataclysm?
No.
Okay. You're not missing anything. What they did was, the way I understand it is, DC's moving all their offices from New York to LA. So, because of that, they have this fill-in story where they said, all right, whoever's available can hop on board and we'll do this big crossover, which will seem like it's a big event. And that way we're not really touching anything that counts.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you think this is kind of cool. You're going to have different versions of different heroes from different timelines meeting each other. I love that stuff. But Okay. Each story is coming out with like 2 issues. Say it's one Batman versus whoever. 2 issues and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
The first issue is complete setup where there's no real fight and it's boring and it's all about, boy, we've been trapped under this dome, huh? Yeah, boy, we're still trapped under this dome. Oh, wait, now we're not trapped over. Oh, we gotta fight this other guy? Oh, okay. Boom. Tune in next issue, the second one,
that.
which counts, where you're gonna see them fight. So I've already...
And you know what? What bothers me a lot about that?
Hmm.
The cover of the issue where nothing happens, it sucks you. You're like, oh, this is about to happen. I have to get this. Then you get it, and it's like the next issue, you're like, oh, well, that was a waste.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. This first, in most cases, most of the books, the first issue doesn't even count. It's like, okay, you're all trapped under the dome and you didn't have your superpowers during that time.
Yeah.
And then the dome comes down. Oh, and the same speech is made all the time by the Brainiac guy who's saying, the dome is down, you must fight, blah, blah. It's the same speech in every issue. So then, I'm hoping the second issue pays off, but then the main book that you're supposed to care about, I don't care about. It's about the people from Earth 2 who are still alive trying to find the answer.
Ugh. There was, what book was it? There's very few books where the cover actually tells you what you're getting. One that always sticks out to me, there's this character and 2 characters in Marvel. Really great characters, very underrated. Gorgon. He's Japanese. His name is Tomi Shishido. I probably just butchered his name. And then there's Shang-Chi, which everybody knows.
The Bruce Lee of Marvel. Whoops.
Now Gorgon is a guy who, he's a mutant. He's with the hand. This guy's like, he has a stone stare, obviously from the name Gorgon.
Sure.
He, like super strength, super speed, he's a ninja, he fights blind, he has telepathy. Swiss Army knife full of what? Swiss Army knife full of powers. He was going to fight Shang-Chi in one of the Avengers World books. I was very excited. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. I would say it's one of the very few books that actually lived up to the hype.
So Gorgon is one of the Inhumans?
No, he's a mutant.
Okay, because I'm looking here.
Oh, there's 2 of them.
Okay, because I'm looking at the one with the hooves for feet.
Yeah. You gotta look up Tomi. I usually just put Gorgon, Tomi.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Alright, now let's see which one this is. Oh, in the white and the red. Yes.
And that's, like, they have, I think, both Marvel and DC. One thing that Image does well that Marvel and DC doesn't, they have these secondary characters that they could bring in the forefront and they'll treat them like they're that Batman. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, too. I don't know if you've heard any of my previous episodes, but Nick and I were talking about how one of the things that kills me. Remember when they did Civil War?
Yes.
Okay. Remember how... Were you reading Spider-Man at the time?
No.
Okay. What they basically did was, when they had them clash, and Spider-Man took off his mask and everybody knew who he was, they put him on the run. So basically what Marvel did was they shook up their own status quo, where it was going to be, and had they stuck with this, it would have been brilliant. Certain heroes are on the run because they're being hunted. Spider-Man with Mary Jane and Aunt May, that's fine. That's great. But if any of them met up, not only would they have to fight whoever the bad guy is, but you always have that constant conflict amongst the other heroes. Like, what side are you on? Oh, crap, we got to fight first. That would have been so fresh, and then all of a sudden Marvel just went, you know what, nope, back to what, and I thought, what a wasted opportunity.
I know.
It kills you.
I want to say it was the Mighty Avengers. There's so many Avengers titles.
Right.
And I follow comics, but there's some guys on my panel, I mean, they are like, every issue, they know everything about everything.
Sure.
And like when I hear them like talk about it, I'm just like, wow. It's a good relief to know you're not the only one who's so passionate about something,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I love to do this. Like, I get someone like, fun, we get to shoot the bull and talk about, who we love.
Which someone asked me not too long ago, because we usually do, like, fights during the day. I mean, we switch it up every now and then. We'll ask people on our page about what they think of this movie. All right, do you think what character do you think would be the best match for this cat?
Mm-hmm.
We try to keep it as interactive as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just, you got your hardcore fans who want to debate.
Sure.
Which is great. I love that. I mean, I used to be the guy who would, like, Google, before Facebook, I'd Google, could this character beat this character? That's when I discovered Comic Vine, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And, but that's not everybody. Everybody can't properly articulate, they can't convey what they're trying to say.
Right.
So you might get he wins because he's stronger. And then you got a guy who's like, very knowledgeable and he breaks it down, and then they're kind of like, I don't know if I really want to be part of this. Mm-hmm. That's why we make it so people who don't have strong debating skills, people who just enjoy being in the atmosphere of it and want to get their opinion out there.
Right. Well,
so we're like, well, this is a good place for you,
Like for me, I bail out once I know that someone is just being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn.
Oh, and it doesn't take long to figure that out.
Like, and sadly, there are comic book writers who are incapable of allowing their hero to lose in certain situations. And, and it's very obvious. Like, who was it? Garth Ennis, who used to write The Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
He hated capes. He hated a superhero. He liked his Punisher. So what he would do, he had like his own agenda where he would bring in Spider-Man, Wolverine, Daredevil, Hulk, and make the Punisher make them look stupid. And I thought, you're not being fair, and you're also cheating people out of a good story. You know what I mean? Because part of a great story is having your hero lose when it makes sense, because then they can build up and blah, 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 blah. And someone was debating, I just happened to see one of the, who would win, this versus that person. Mm-hmm. And it was Punisher versus Red Hood. So I said, well, Red Hood, because as good as the Punisher is at shooting and all, you have
military, you got special forces training, but then you got a guy who's like League of Assassins,
trained by Batman. So I went, okay, Jason Todd. And someone was saying, well, I think it's the Punisher, and we went back and forth a little bit, and I tried to, keep it logical and practical. Mm-hmm. And then at one point they compared the Punisher to Batman, and I went, and I'm done. No, you're not. No, like the crossover. One of the things I love about the Batman Punisher crossover that you mentioned, they did two, because it was when Azrael. The first crossover was Azrael as Batman versus the Punisher. And in that case, the Punisher won, which I thought, okay, good, because that way Marvel and DC will be happy. And when they had the actual Batman, Bruce Wayne, they're up against each other, and the Punisher punches Batman in the face, and Batman says, I let you have that one because I figure you probably so Batman is so beyond the Punisher that he allows him to punch him in the face and goes, you feel better? Let's move on. And
not to hyperbolize it, but that's the same thing Superman did to Batman. He let him punch him.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that type of thing.
He even said if he didn't go with the punch, he would have broke every hand.
Every bone in
every bone in his hand.
Because then the Punisher tries to hit him again, and Batman catches it and says, I said one, and then throws him off into the garbage. And I'm like, thank you, because that makes sense. The Punisher won against Azrael, but he's not winning against Bruce Wayne.
Which not to say that he wouldn't win. Let's say they had 10 fights. I mean, it's not like it's a complete blowout. I'd say he'd win he'd win a fair amount, but I would always see Batman as coming up.
Exactly. So, and once it got to that point, I know when to just go, you know what, now we're going to get in a name calling. And I don't want to get in a name calling because this is supposed to be a community of love. We're able to discuss something we're passionate about.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like, we hold tournaments. We always give away prizes. It's usually when there's a comic movie coming out.
Oh, okay.
Like we'll put sign-ups, sign up for the BVS, Batman vs. Superman tournament. So the winner is getting 2 free tickets. Now, if they want to get, the movie theater up the street, they want to go to the movie theater where you got your own seats and you get food, that's up to them. We don't mind paying, because, we enjoy the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We like to give back when we can, and people just, but that's one of the rules. The moment it gets personal, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
Like, there's no need to start attacking someone.
Exactly.
Because you can't get your point out. I always tell people, just use a scan. If they say, well, this person could beat this person, no problem. All right, well, here's a scan of him losing to someone who's equal to this person. Then, that's why you need to know how to debate. You have avenues without attacking somebody, and that's one of the things we really crack down on.
Yeah, well, one of the best things that Scott Snyder did when he took over writing Batman. Have you been reading Batman?
Not the late stuff.
Okay, I'm telling you, if I can convince you to read one book, it would be the New 52 run of Batman, starting with Court of Owls, because what Scott Snyder did was he brought in this new villain organization, Court of Owls, which was a secret society that actually runs Gotham that nobody knows about. Batman, the world's greatest detective, didn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
So they really bring out Batman losing in many aspects, but that doesn't make him weaker. It gives him something to fight against.
And that's one of the things that earlier when I said they always hit Batman right on the head.
Yeah.
He's not this character who's immortal.
Exactly.
He'll give you something to aspire to, but one thing they always say about Batman, if he has prep.
Sure.
But then at the same time he gets beat by people like Hush. I mean, come on. You gotta kind of,
Do you remember where that came from? That term when they said as long as he has prep.
Mm-hmm.
That came back when Grant Morrison was writing the Justice League.
Oh, is that with...
That's when that all started, with the White Martians.
I gotcha.
And, all the other heroes are getting dropped, and Batman figures it out. Oh, these heroes, I think I know what their secret is. They're White Martians, which means they're susceptible to fire. So Batman lights a match and goes, come here, and takes them all out. So because of that, Grant Morrison was writing Batman to be... when all the other heroes lose, Batman will win.
Yeah.
And so, I guess it was said somewhere, as long as he has prep. So then that became the go-to to, wait, we found a loophole.
Yeah.
And that's what we all know today.
So, when we were talking earlier about your favorite villains,
yes.
was one of them. Who would you say are your top 3 DC villains of all time?
Oh, man. Top of DC villains. How am I going to pick 3? All right, I'm just going to go off the top of my head, and then I can always go, I know I'll second guess myself. But right off the top, I'm going with Bane, Doomsday. Oh, man. And a third. It's got to be a Batman villain somewhere in there. And it's all for the same type of reason, too. Oh, holy crap. I don't want to say Joker because...
It sounds like that's what everybody would say.
Yeah, and it's easy to like the Joker. I'm going to go with... And I know I'll change my mind because there's more. I'm going to say Court of Owls just because I love how layered they are. I'm telling you, you got to read this book.
Well, I've seen like snippets of it. When one of the good things is when people say, like, we have a tier system, and they're like, all right, you got to pick a character within these parameters. They say, okay, well, I want to use this character. I'm like, I don't know who this character is. So now I got to jump in there and I got to get back to them because if someone else,
Yeah.
So I'm like, I do like research like that,
See, now I'm also thinking Ra's al Ghul's up there. And here's
that's
why.
a good one.
Yeah, well, yeah, but here's why. The string that ties all these people together is it's like the opposite of, they're the biggest challenge for the hero. Like Bane, Ra's al Ghul, Court of Owls are like the opposite of Batman. They're just as smart, but they're physically either equal or superior.
Yeah.
So it brings out the best in Batman. Same thing with Doomsday. Doomsday, when he's written well,
I'm glad you threw that in there.
Thank you. And I'm talking about before the New 52.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of Doomsday was he was an experiment from the Kryptonians that went wrong. They were trying to make the ultimate soldier, and eventually, once you kill Doomsday, he regenerates back, and now you can't kill him the same way.
You know what's a funny thing? People, like when you put Doomsday in a fight, I think like right now we have Doomsday versus Gladiator.
Right.
And they'll say, well, if he knocks his head off, it'll just grow right back and he'll win. I'm like, well,
no.
First off, if someone's unable to fight, that's at least
you're done. Yeah.
They're done. In Doomsday, something a lot of people overlook, he doesn't instantly, can't be killed the same way.
No. He's on for a long time. Yeah, Doomsday doesn't just pop up and go, boing, got a new head. Yeah.
I think you're gonna like.
I was gonna ask you who's
my
yours.
third. My third, I know you're gonna like.
Okay.
The first one, I'm gonna go and say General Zod.
Love General Zod, sure.
I loved how eccentric he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, this is happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got that can-do attitude.
He's never going to be the lackey. He's always going to be the one in charge.
Yeah. I think in 52 when he was first introduced, but after that he was just kind of kept getting dialed back.
Mm-hmm.
My second has to be Eobard Thawne.
Love him. See?
I love that character. And did you see the Flash finale?
Yes, I did.
Well, we'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
And Two-Face is my number 3.
I always see. Here's the thing.
It's the dual nature.
Batman.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say Batman villains are an easy given for me because they're so not only diverse but they're also well-rounded. Like there's such great backstory. But go ahead. I agree. Say what you're gonna say about Two-Face.
His dual nature. It's so flawed that it's almost beautiful. You know what I'm saying? He's on one hand he's a guy who knows what's right, but does the wrong thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has this other half of him who's just chaos and does the wrong thing.
Do you like him being schizophrenic when he talks to himself, or do you like it when he?
I think that builds so much character for him. Do
you like that?
I honestly I love that. I mean,
because there's certain ways that he's written. Sometimes he knows that he's hard
when written well.
Sure.
You have where he's like he's contemplating what he should do, and he's kind of at war with himself. But one side of him wants to do the wrong thing. The other side of him knows it's wrong, but still wants to do it anyway. It's kind of like he's just slowly becoming the bad half of him.
Mm-hmm.
But it always leaves like just a little hope at the end of any book he's in, where you're like, oh, he's going to turn this around. He's never going to turn it around.
Right.
It's like, oh, he's like that abusive boyfriend. They're like, oh, he's going to turn it around.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He's like, it's not really going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, what about?
Go ahead.
As far as Marvel goes, who are your 3 villains?
Oh boy. That's a good question. See, I'm more. Let me think. My mind goes right to the opposite type of thing again, because like Venom is I have a soft spot for. Juggernaut. I always like Juggernaut.
Well, I wouldn't say underrated, but I don't think he gets as much shine as he deserves.
Right. But okay, so let's see. Daredevil's my favorite Marvel hero. So Bullseye.
Good one.
Thank you. I'm trying to think. They got to be along the lines of like the Daredevil villains. But Bullseye, I mean, he's up there. It's gonna drive me nuts. Bullseye, Venom, just off the top of my head, and man, can I say Winter Soldier? Because he's gotten better. He's good now, but when he was bad, you know what I mean? Like I liked him as that bad guy. And Crossbones. Crossbones, I always liked his look. I'm thrilled he's going to be in the new Captain America movie looking like Crossbones.
I think Rob Liefeld wrote Crossbones the best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that whole run? He had him in a lot.
I mean, the artwork was little,
Who was that? Rob Lim? Who was the artist?
It was Rob Liefeld and...
Lim, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
I love that art. I remember there was one where they had Daredevil show up in Captain America. And of course they have Captain America. Captain America was all drugged out and was like in a rage. And Daredevil goes to stop him, and of course they have Captain America win. And I'm like, stop it! Darn, I know it's his title, but come on.
Yeah. You know, they asked me the other day. It was like, "Who's your favorite villain?" Maybe on another podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They were like, who would you say are your top three? Top three is so hard to do because it always varies. You could have a guy who's great, and people would be like, "Oh, why didn't you pick him?" You're like, I'd say top five.
So yeah, for Marvel, who's yours?
I would say Thanos is number one.
Okay. Ooh, see, now I'm thinking Doomsday or Darkseid for DC too. I love him, but go ahead.
See, he would be in my top five for DC.
See, there you go.
And which is bad. People are going to kill me because they're like, you like Two-Face better than Darkseid. But just remember why I said I like Two-Face, though,
Yes, yeah.
So Thanos would have to be number one. Dr. Doom would have to be number two. I mean, it's just so many. I really like... See, characters like the Sentry. Characters who are flawed. Characters who have tons of issues where... When stuff is going on, that's when they're at their most sane because they're focused on that. But there's like a craft storm behind them,
I like the Sentry. I was sad to see him go.
Well, he came back-ish.
Did he?
Yeah. So in Uncanny Avengers, the Apocalypse twins, which are Archangel's kids, when he was ascending to become Apocalypse.
Okay.
They had 4 death seeds, so their 4 horsemen were death. They brought back Banshee, Daken, Wolverine's son, the Grim Reaper, who was Wonder Man's brother, and Sentry.
Wow.
So they call him Death Seed Sentry now. And I mean, I'll send you some stuff you can check out, or I'll send you my sign in for my app. And I mean, you figured he was like on this scale before. Now he's just like,
really? He's
like ripping his face open. You see his brain. It's.
Jeez.
Yeah, he goes off the deep end. And I would say Apocalypse would have to be my number 3.
Huh. See, I want to like Apocalypse. I just never. I don't think I understand him enough to. You know what I mean? Because whenever they get into the cosmic-y, spacey stuff, it gets so convoluted and loose that how do you explain it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I like Thanos, his real enemy is himself.
Okay, yeah.
I seem to be drawn to characters who have like a lot of inner turmoil. Mm-hmm. I just read someone. It's called The End, and it's when he gets the heart of the universe. And he's like the most powerful being, and it comes down to, you got like Eternity attacking him, everybody from Marvel's attacking him, and during this fight, the only thing on his mind is that everything that has a beginning has an end, and then it starts over.
Sure.
And he's like fighting that, and he's like he just like gets rid of everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I always think back to Infinity Gauntlet.
I love that. I remember when
he raised his hand.
Yes.
It did the snap. Everybody was like, "Oh."
I remember when I first picked up issue number 1, and that panel where it showed everybody on the street, and then one half of the world was gone.
Just like that.
I'm like, whoa, and then that big fight where he just destroys everybody without any problem.
I mean, tell me that wasn't like one of the biggest Captain America moments.
Right? Punches the shield and shatters it.
And he just walks up to him like, as long as one person, and he's like, you're going to die anyway.
Yeah. Love it.
So, what did you think of the Flash finale?
I don't want to make you late. Do you have to go?
I got like 15 more minutes.
Okay. Okay. Let me think. Loved it. I'm going to watch it again. I loved... Well, okay. Couple questions. I'm dying to find out. Why did the older version of himself stop him from changing stuff? I'm Flashpoint. I'm thinking he already tried it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hope they actually explain it where he goes, maybe he sees his future self and he says, because you've done this already and it's chaos, so it's better to let this happen. And go ahead.
When he was saying you have a minute 52.
Yep.
And a few episodes back when they did the flashback when he was fighting them, he was fighting Zom around his mother, and they was like he just disappeared. I was like, oh, well, that was probably minute 52. He had to go.
Yeah.
It would make sense. I mean, one thing I'll say about the show, they hit all the emotional points perfectly.
Don't they? The moment any moment for this season between Barry and Joe were the best scenes, the most heart-wrenching.
I'm going to weigh this one against you, Barry and his father.
Yes, that's also great.
He's like crying in tears. He's like, I could save Mom. And he's like, but what would that do to the person you are? He's like, I don't care. And then his father goes, but I care. And I was just like, perfect.
And
perfect.
Let me think. Oh, how about the Silver Age Flash's helmet coming through the portal? I am so pumped for that. I love that they're doing multi-dimensions. Yeah.
When they did that, and you see Thorne's face, spoilers, and he goes, all right, that's my cue to go. I was like, whoa, wait, what's going on here,
And you know too? I love that Zoom, Eobard Thawne, the actual guy.
Is it Zoom or Zom? I've never actually heard it.
It's Zoom because like speed, like.
Okay, I got you.
But when he actually shows his real face with the blonde hair, the comb over, that's how he looked in the comics. So I'm like, thank you for caring enough to get an actor who looks like what we know, And I'm dying. You
can't tell me he's like not the best villain in any TV. Where you care more about him, almost more than the Flash. Like every time he's on screen,
right?
He just steals the show.
Well, the way it ended kind of left me like, oh, so we have to wait 6 months to see how he beats this black hole because he's running around it, and then
I have a theory about that.
Okay.
So everything led to, they're going to a parallel universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
maybe.
He didn't save his mom. Everything was building up to that. Like, the whole show is everybody pretty much saying goodbye.
Right.
To the characters they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everything... There was closure for everything, pretty much. Well, other than the obvious. All the characters between each other, there was closure.
Mm.
You think that when he comes back, it's going to be some parallel world. He comes back to the same place he left.
Well, because he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He didn't end up saving his mother, so I thought, well, what the heck was that?
But then, when he was running around the thing, I think that's exactly where it's going to go. I think they led you to believe, all right, this is going to happen. Then they being the producers, say, all right, it's not going to happen. And you're kind of like, well, that's fine. And then this happens, and then you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? I think they are going to go to a parallel.
That's fine. I'd love that, actually. I would love that. I'll tell you this. Overall, this whole season of The Flash. Now, you tell me if you agree. Pretty much excellent.
Yes.
I mean,
it saved the Arrow, I'll tell you that much.
Well, Arrow has never been great for me. Arrow has been
I was listening to your podcast maybe a few podcasts ago. I just dropped in my car listening to podcasts, me and my daughter. So thank you for not all the cursing.
No.
You guys were talking about the fight choreography for Arrow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to say you ruined it for me, but once you said something, I realized that they're throwing punches like 15 feet away from people.
See?
And as I'm watching it, I'm going, oh my God, are you kidding me? Get a little closer,
Right. Because on S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know if you watch S.H.I.E.L.D., but those fights are perfect. Those are beautiful to watch. Much better. But yeah, the Arrow now, I'm like, every time I watch it, it's just what you said. I'm like, I see it.
And the Arrow to me was I understand it's a CW show. They have how they do things. The Arrow slowly started becoming like a 90210, and it was just like hurtful to watch it.
Yes.
And then the whole thing with what's his girlfriend's name, who became the Black Canary?
Laura Lance.
When she's on screen, you like want to just jump out of a window.
Yep.
Into a canyon and hopefully land in a shark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree.
And then on top of that, the father, Detective Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you can tell from my voice, I'm from New York.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like he's going for like a Chicago accent.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't quite hit it because he keeps coming back to his British accent.
I was going to say, he's got a British accent.
It's so hurtful to listen to. Like, that was actually one of my biggest problems with The Amazing Spider-Man. His accent was killing me.
Oh, okay.
And, like, I just hear bad accents, and I'm like, oh.
Well, with Flash, though, the only thing I would say that was annoying at all was I thought they spent too much time on the Firestorm story. I
think they were building that, though, to be a standalone, right?
Well, it's going to be Legends, that spin-off.
Yeah, Legends of Tomorrow.
But they could have done that in like 2 episodes. Instead, they'd have a little bit here, a little bit there. And I'm just like, eventually nobody cared. It's
they did like Ray Palmer from the Arrow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Captain Cold, they seem to just be forcing at you. They're just like forcing you to like the character.
Right.
And who else? In Firestorm, it's like I don't care about these characters. Like they don't grab me the way the Arrow story does or Flash's story does. I mean, I was watching the Arrow and my wife kept asking me, first off, why am I watching it? The second question was, is he supposed to be Iron Man? I was like, no, he's supposed to shrink down. She goes,
right.
Looks like Iron Man.
Yep.
And that's all it kept coming back to. I was just like, he was Superman. How do you step down to the atom? Like, ouch.
Yeah. I mean, and again, now, if you saw the trailer for Legends, they finally are going to have him shrink.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Which is one of my biggest problems with trailers. They give away any suspense that's in what's current. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, they're going to make us wait until next year to see that spinoff. Did you know that?
Oh.
I know. Because it looks like they already filmed the first episode, but then they I'm glad you guys liked the trailer. You're not going to see it until 2016. Like, oh. Well, that's kind of sucks.
And when I seen the girl who was the original Canary that died, Sarah, when I seen her in it, and then, what do you call it, what's his name?
Pit.
Yeah, when the guy who's currently Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing. I yell at the TV. It's Raish! It's Raish Al Ghul, you dog!
It's so funny, because he would say Raish.
Right.
Few people would say Raish, and then other guys would be like Raz, And I think it was clever, because it's like, well, some people say it this way, some people say it the other way, but the people who you hear say it, who know how to say it, say Raish.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, like, little things like that I find interesting. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah. Yeah, overall, I mean, The Flash, right from the first episode, I went, wow, so this is so much better than Arrow. Holy crap. I mean, because it's fun. And it allows Barry to enjoy being a superhero, where with Arrow, they're too busy trying to make him Batman. And, they even Stephen Amell did a panel last week, and he goes, you know what I'd like to see next season? I'd like to have Green Arrow be like he is in the comic book. You
know what I thought was interesting when they had Ra's al Ghul in there? I was like, what if they just throw Red Hood in there?
Uh-huh.
That was the first thing I thought, because as soon as I was like, that would be a fair... I mean, you got a lot of Batman references to begin with. Yeah. You don't even have to have him in the... Just talk about him.
Yep.
And they'll be like, boom, you got another show coming out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always excited to see who they're going to bring from the comics into the show. Mm-hmm. But it kills me when they don't do it right. Like, Ra's al Ghul in Arrow was such, for me, a disappointment. The guy didn't look like Ra's al Ghul to me. He didn't sound like Ra's al Ghul to me. He didn't, he didn't act like... overall, the big threat of him was you're an annoyance. You're like a stubborn guy who won't take no for an answer. You know what I mean? And
we call those creepers.
Yeah. And for him to go, you know what? You came back to life, so therefore you get to be the next Ra's al Ghul. No. Arrow is not Batman. You understand why Ra's al Ghul wants Batman to be his successor. Because Batman is the best that a human being can be.
Have you seen the meme of him with the sword in his stomach? And it goes, that moment you realize you're not Bruce Wayne?
No. Oh, that's a good one. As
soon as I seen that, I just started laughing. Yeah. So we did one thing on my page, hashtag MVDC, Marvel vs. DC. They did, one of the admins put up this thing, all right, name a character who could beat this character. Which is not the most creative post, but it gets a lot of interaction and people enjoy it. People are like, oh, they'll just name characters like Squirrel Girl. They'll name somebody like Captain Boomerang, Captain Condiment. Like, they'll just come with, and it's hilarious. And you can tell how much people like it. That's why we keep doing it.
Yeah.
And someone wrote, I would say Harrison Wells, but to him, he's been dead for centuries. I was like, oh, my God, that is like genius.
See, that's clever stuff.
It's... One thing I will say about the Arrow, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I won't put Flash in this category. Their season finales are phenomenal.
Right.
But you just got to get there, though.
Well, did you...
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's good. I think they didn't have a very strong first season, and that stigma kind of sat with them. Mm-hmm. But, I mean... This season finale was great.
Well, the moment that it crossed over with Winter Soldier, I remember that feeling of, oh, holy crap, okay, now this became an excellent show. Remember? Because up until then, it was just a mission of the week, who cares? And then all of a sudden, it tied into the movie.
Yeah.
Oh! I'm like, okay, wow. Yeah. And then it was the same thing with this season. That season finale, wow. Poor Coulson.
Yeah.
I said to Cindy, how's he going to pick his nose now? She said, well, he has nothing.
When my wife loves Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. When Adrian Gonzalez, when they were all after him, and he came back, he goes, all right, I got to make a call to Maria Hill and Nick Fury.
Yep.
Oh, I was like, that's so good. That was just like right on the mark.
Yeah.
But I think Josh Whedon did the season finale of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think his brother does it, but he did the actual season finale.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool because it mattered. That's the thing. I want to see things matter.
Yeah.
You know?
See, and that's like, I thought Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. Speaking of when you said stuff matters, I thought Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy was a phenomenal villain.
Mm-hmm.
He was crazy. He was emotional.
Yep.
He had what he's seen happening and whatever it takes to get what he wants, you know?
Yeah.
I think having Thanos in the movie overshadowed him where people didn't really... They were just like, all right, we don't care about you. We care about the guy you're working for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's that overshadowing that they do. I mean, not so much DC, but Marvel, because, you know, they laid out their slate of movies. They said, well, this person is going to be in Civil War. That person is going to be in Civil War. Now you watch Age of Ultron. You're like, wait, so who's going to die? I thought someone was going to die, you know?
Yeah.
And it just like takes away from the characters. If they said, yeah, there's going to be more Avengers movies and didn't give any details till this one came out,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a better way to go. But I mean, I'm right there watching YouTube, seeing them make the announcements. I mean, it didn't bother me, but
I think I love where we're at as far as entertainment
Mm-hmm.
goes. You know what I mean? Comic book entertainment. I just pray to God DC doesn't drop the ball with their movies because I am not looking forward. As much as I love DC and I want them to be good, everything I've heard so far worries me to death, and I pray that I'm wrong. I hope I go, oh, I called that one wrong, but the way it looks,
I think
tattoos on the Joker's face, like really, you need to do that?
you know, Suicide Squad seems very obscure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that decision was made based off of Guardians of the Galaxy being so successful.
Good, yeah.
I think that this is the problem with any DC movie. They lean too much on Batman. I understand the Nolan series was a huge success.
Mm-hmm.
But...
And he's also Batman, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, people love him, but I mean, I think they just lean way too heavy on him. I mean, do you really need the joke? I seen the animated version of Arkham Asylum, but
okay.
Do you need Joker in the movie? Was Batman, Superman the best way to go? You know, I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, they really lean on Batman, which I can understand. I mean, the guy's like makes you tons of money.
Right.
If it were me, I would have did the Superman movie.
Would you? Without?
Yeah. Man of Steel would have been first. I like that they're doing, all right, let's throw everybody in one movie and then we'll have their solo movies down the road. I mean, that's the only thing they could have done. Otherwise, they would have been said, well, you're copying off of Marvel.
Right. Which
is another thing that bothers me. Because people compared the Daredevil series to the Arrow. And I'm like...
Who did that?
Everybody. Oh,
that's insane.
Don't go on the internet today.
Holy crap! Have you seen Daredevil the series?
Oh my god, it's so good.
It is the best thing, and this is saying a lot because out of all the Marvel movies, Winter Soldier's been my favorite.
Oh, I agree 150%.
But Daredevil, the show, better than ever. It's the best thing Marvel's done yet.
I think the only correlation I could see is Arrow wants to save his city.
Yeah, exactly. But what else?
Daredevil wants to save his section of New York.
Yep.
That's the only thing I see they have in common.
That is such a bad call. I don't know who made that correlation, but holy...
You know, it's funny. We had... I made a fight not too long ago. I think I did it yesterday. You can go check it out.
Yeah.
So it's the Arrow,
Daredevil,
and John Diggle.
Okay.
Versus Crixus, Spartacus, and Gannicus.
I don't know if I know who those are.
Oh, that's from the show. Well, I think it was on Showtime or Stars. Spartacus. Series.
Oh, the show. Okay, yes.
Yeah. So it's those three, and you got people who'll say something. They'll say something to now. I enjoy everybody's comments. I read we have posts where we get like 500 comments.
Right.
I will take the time and read through everybody's comments. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And so there's this one guy. He goes, well, fighting has evolved in 2,000 years, so, this goes without saying the heroes would win.
Right.
And then someone, because there's always that one guy on the internet, somebody responds and says, yeah, but the fighting they do is from 2,000 years ago. just shut down whatever he's trying to say.
You're done. That's it. Yeah, you're swinging a sword it doesn't mean as much then as it does now.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true. I'm looking at it too. And yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Diggle. I
heard that he was going to be some guy called the Guardian.
Yeah, the Guardian is like a D-rated DC character that used to appear in Superman.
Okay.
Back when Dan Jurgens was writing Superman, I think it was him, but they used to have, there's Superman, it's his book, but in the town there's all these we're going to focus on all the other heroes. Well, now you just made Superman not seem so special. You know what I mean?
What comic was it? The Death of Superman when he's fighting Doomsday?
Mm-hmm.
I reread it. I mean, it was a good book. I wouldn't say great. It was a good book.
Sure.
I went back to it and read it maybe a few months ago. And I realized, as I'm going through it, I don't care about what everybody else is feeling as he's fighting. I'm like, just show the guy fighting.
Right.
That's what we want to see,
Yes.
But, the comics back then, they changed so much to how they are now.
So, because originally they were like, why don't they let him be John Stewart? Wouldn't that be excellent if he became the Green Lantern?
Yeah.
I agree. But okay, if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, then make him the Guardian. That's fine. As long as they make him something, because he's a cool enough character that I've grown to really like him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of him just being the guy running around aimlessly shooting at bad guys, let's give him some purpose.
Yeah.
I
think one thing DC does good is they just start hammering out shows for characters. They got Supergirl starting now.
Yeah, that looks nice.
I'm like, who doesn't want to see a Superman, Supergirl,
Exactly.
The flight, the strength, that's the stuff people love. I think that's one of the reasons Flash is so popular as it is.
Uh-huh.
It's because, the guy has superpowers.
Right.
And he's going to use them. It doesn't mean he doesn't have problems. He can't just fix everything like that. And I think that's one of the reasons Supergirl's going to do really good, because she does have these powers,
Well, and I think that's where it's going to come down to, and hopefully they follow what they did on Flash. As much as you're going to focus on, I'm all angsty, I don't, I like this person, you have to have a good amount of time on their power. Remember when they did Lois versus Clark? Yeah, Lois and Clark.
Yeah, Dean Cain.
And the same thing with Smallville. Both producers, I can't think of the women's name, but they came out and said, "Look, I don't care about him being a superhero. That's not what this show is about for me. It's about their emotions." So I promise the company is making me have them in the outfit at least 5 minutes every episode, but I'm not going to do a minute past that. Well, wouldn't you know it? You look back on those shows, you're like, ugh, I couldn't watch Smallville anyway because they kept jerking you around. You know what I mean?
Speaking of shows back in the day, how great is it that they have The Flash as the father in The Flash? I used to love that show.
So did I. And
he'd run around, he'll get dizzy, he'll have his problems. I'm like, that's great. I'm like,
it was excellent. And John Wesley Shipp is the actor, and I'll tweet to him now and again, just to say I'm so thrilled that you're on this show, or that was a great scene, and he always favors it, and we'll write back thanks, and I love that. I love that he appreciates.
Well, you tell him that scene with him and Barry at prison.
Yeah.
That was like.
Well, you're on Twitter, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, you can do it.
Well, I forgot my password. I got to go through a process to get it back now.
But when you do, I know he'll appreciate it, you know?
Okay.
But let me let you go because it's like the top past 4 o'clock, and I don't want you to be, well, for me it's 4 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want you to get in trouble. But everybody go to Facebook, check out Chris's page, Marvel vs. DC. You pretty much post things every day, don't you?
Yeah, we post 3 to 5 times a day. You don't want to oversaturate. But an easier way to find us if you put in hashtag MVDC. That'll also take you straight to the page because there's a few pages out there.
There you go. That's the way to do it. All right, and you'll come back and do one of these with me again in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Yay.
When we get our podcast up, we're going to make sure we have you on.
Well, that'd be nice. Yeah, and you know what? I'm telling you, next time we do this, I guarantee I'll have an updated best of my top 3 bad guys. Because, you know, now you got me thinking about it, and it's going to haunt me until I go, okay, wait, here's another one I want to, you know what I mean? I want to mention this person. So we'll keep updating each other along those lines.
Oh, definitely.
But thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will catch you later.
All right.